Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Naruto was taken by Yoda and trained to become a Jedi Knight. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel after watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So now let's start this video. 5 months after the Battle of Geonosis, the massive offensive in the northern outer rim known as Operation Full Hammer had begun. All across the galaxy, Republic forces were carrying out dummy attacks in the southern mid-rim to distract the Separatists and draw forces away, but it seemed they weren't going to be fooled. Dooku was one step ahead of the Republic and had reinforced the northern worlds considerably. It was quite ingenious of him to see though the Republic's bluffs, or someone had tipped him off to the entire operation beforehand. On board the negotiator, Renvar's system, Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi started down the immense Separatist fleet. Obi-Wan had been promoted to be one of the select few High Jedi generals, and was given command over the 3rd and 10th Sector armies, and tasked with the pushing towards Raxus. They were hoping to end the war early, before the Sith were able to produce more droids than the Republic could keep up with. As the commanding officer of the newly formed 3rd Systems Army, Obi-Wan had one of the most elite fighting forces in the galaxy, nearly a tenth of the Republic's total military might, as well as the man that was widely considered to be the best general in the GAR, Naruto Uzumaki. At least, that's what Naruto kept telling him. Master Luminara and most of the 3rd Army has been stopped to deal with a considerable separatist invasion in the Asa system. This was good, in a way. The more separatist forces that were diverted, the easier it would be for him to capture Renvar, but it also meant that he had less troops to take the planet, and at this point he was beginning to think he needed them. Obi-Wan turned his attention to the planet the Republic had lost just a few months prior. It was a battle he knew well, as he was the one overseeing the final retreat and evacuation. In a few short months, the separatists had turned the planet into a monster stronghold. Over it orbited the Separatists' entire 11th fleet, engaging his ships in fierce combat. His fleet was under the command Admiral Wolf-Ulleran on board the Resolute, while the 10th fleet was being guided by Weil Allender on his flagship, the Sovereignty. On the ground was a garrison that nearly rivaled that of Coruscant. The Separatist base was heavily fortified, and their orbital bombardment had no effect. The Separatists were using powerful shield generators to protect the base, and they would have to resort to a surface attack. Even though one had already fallen to Master Balaba's group, the shields still stood strong. But the biggest question was why go through all this trouble to defend Renvar? This caused the Jedi Master to furl his brow in frustration. The Separatists had compelled Kenobi to engage them here, because this number of forces could not simply be ignored. Any further advances to the north could be ensnared in a trap from behind. But Renvar held little strategic position. Nearby Felucia or even Kalumex would probably be more valuable. It confused Obi-Wan greatly, and that caused him even more frustration. Regardless of the reason, Renvar had to fall. He had faith that Master Peel leading the 10th Army and Anakin leading the 7th Sky Corps on the ground in his stead would be able to take this planet. However, the 14th Deep Operations Corps, which would be perfect for an invasion such as this, was inconveniently missing. Surely the 14th Corps couldn't be too far behind schedule. On board the Fire's Shadow call system, Naruto found himself extremely behind schedule. His brow tensed up as he observed the many ships that had assembled before him. The Republic Navy was finally up to snuff. Many of the gains the Confederacy had made in the early stages of the war had been turned back into Republic hands, as blockades across the galaxy were broken and sieges were lifted. Now, armed with a full fleet of 28 Venators, 12 Acclamators, a dozen of the new Pelta-class frigates, 32 Arquitans-class cruisers, 20 Dreadnought cruisers, and a myriad of almost 100 other support craft, the 10th Navy was at full operations capacity. And 150,000 clones and 250,000 irregulars that made up the 10th Army were raring to go. So why then had Naruto been ordered by Palpatine to remain behind and wait for Ross's to arrive with the new line of starships? To make matters worse, Ross was late, almost 2 days late. Where's that no good, inconsiderate ass? Naruto muttered stressfully. Naruto still didn't like Ross or his stratagems, but the man had an uncanny battle sense, and Naruto couldn't deny the victories that he had snatched from defeat. Even though his operations often cost him more troops on average, Ross had yet to lose a single battle in the war. Even if he had been forced to abandon the Pride, he managed to take control of that losing battle, and crush the entire Confederate 9th Fleet, securing the inner rim for the foreseeable future. The 10th Army now had the 2 greatest victories for the Republic under their belt. Ross was at his best when he was pressured, that's for sure. Naruto only wished that the Admiral would just refine his new methodology, and abandon his old one in full. And that he would be on time for once. His utter lack for punctuality had grated on Naruto's nerves at every corner. If you ask me, it's probably better that he's not here. Siri commented as she stood next to him. Naruto silently agreed. Ross' tactics were far too costly. Even if he had started to improve, Naruto still found the man's personality quite insufferable. But we need a fleet admiral. Naruto reasoned, even if he didn't like Ross, they needed one, a damn good one. Siri rolled her eyes at that. Why can't you just appoint Allender to that position? He's far more cautious and isn't so Ross. Siri reasoned, referring to Wild's recent promotion to Admiral. Naruto sighed at that. Well, earlier in the war he would have done so on the spot, he wasn't so sure now. He had a couple near fumbles of Fonda and destined, but Ross had seemingly softened up about a month ago for whatever reason, and now that he had experience fighting against the Separatists, he had analyzed all their little tricks, and had turned the 10th Seconds Navy into the most powerful and effective fighting force in the entire Grand Army of the Republic. Had they not won destined, Naruto was sure that the 10th Army would be better known for Ross and its navy, rather than the actual army. With these new developments, Ross had been drawn into the public spotlight. So even if Naruto wanted to promote Allender over Ross, doing so might not make the most sense strategically or even politically. It wasn't that Allender wasn't capable, it was that Ross was so good it made no sense to demote him, despite his personal shortcomings. Naruto wasn't part of high command or even the Navy anyways. They had the sole power to promote officers. Enlisted men could be promoted if he wanted, but he seldom used that authority. That, and he was sure that the Allender didn't exactly want the position anyways. His hair was almost completely gray already, and he didn't want the poor old man to go bald. Sir, General Kenobi is requesting you meet with him, in person, aboard his flagship at Renvar. I think he wants a void transmission intercept. Fox reported as Naruto sighed. It was true that Palpatine had ordered him to wait until the new ships arrived, but considering how extraordinarily late Ross was, Naruto had the authority to declare Ross missing in action, and the ships were never coming, thus rendering Palpatine's orders invalid. And following a direct order from his commanding officer was as good an excuse as any to leave. Very well, jump to his coordinates. Send word to Coruscant that Admiral Ross Darhan is hereby declared MIA, and the 14th Corps is moving to reinforce General Kenobi at Renvar per his request. Send priority communications to Ross that, if he's out there, to meet us at this new rendezvous point. Be sure to warn him that it'll likely be a combat zone when he arrives. Naruto ordered as Fox nodded before handing down the orders. Looks like you get your wish. Naruto said with a light chuckle to Siri, who simply huffed and looked away. I just don't want him blowing holes in another space station while you're still on it. I'm only concerned for your safety, Baka. Siri stated, adding in an insult in Naruto's language. Siri knew how to speak Naruto's old language well, sort of. It was extremely difficult and had very strange syntax. Not even the protocol droids could translate his language properly. It was written in ancient Mandalorian, but it seemingly developed into something else entirely over hundreds or maybe even thousands of years. Please don't mix languages, you sound like even more of a dork. If you're gonna talk to me in my language, it's all or nothing. Naruto retorted in his own language, and Siri could barely follow what he said. Considering that his language had completely different syntax than basic, it probably didn't sound the same to him as it did to her. Would you rather talk to a protocol droid? She questioned him, causing Naruto to pout. Aside from Master Yoda, who had studied it prior to Naruto's first meeting with him, Siri was probably the only person in the galaxy that could hold a conversation with Naruto in his native tongue. At least, when the conversation involved him trying to cook ramen, a delicacy he greatly missed from his home. Dex's take on it offered him some comfort, but nothing could beat old man Tucci's recipe. 3 hours later, on the bridge of the Negotiator. What's the status on our heavy support equipment? Kenobi questioned Admiral Yularen, who was also directing the battle above planet. We sent over 308s down to the planet's surface, only about 100 were left intact upon landing. Other supporting equipment has also reached the planet in a similar state. General Skywalker has also reported that his assault on the enemy base is causing him to lose many men. He says that his legion alone has probably destroyed at least 100,000 battle droids. Yularen reported as Kenobi frowned. Renvar was more than just a pit stop, it was a significant fortress world. The Separatists had fielded millions of droids. Obi-Wan would need to use every possible resource to take it. Sir, General Uzumaki's fleet has arrived and are moving to engage the Separatists. His shuttle has left the docking bay. Commander Fox has the fire's shadow. CC-222-4 Cody reported to Obi-Wan, who sighed in relief. Good, with another fleet in the system it was sure to cause the Separatists problems. But, send word to Fox. Have the 14th Corps prep for battle, and have Rear Admiral Mark and the Repentance move to assist Admiral Yularen as part of the rearguard. Kenobi ordered as he chuckled to himself slightly. He couldn't believe that the blonde boy who ran into all those years ago became one of the youngest Jedi Masters in the Order's history. It didn't take too long for Naruto to arrive with Siri, as well as the 14th Corps other Jedi Generals Bolter Swan, Sarakido, and K-Mars Red Athgom in tow. So, what was so important that you had to drag me out here and make me come see your wrinkled old ass in person, Kenobi? Naruto joked, and Obi-Wan could only let out a wry smile. He appreciated the effort, but his spirits were far too bogged down to joke further. Pressing a few buttons, a hologram of the massive fortress appeared. The Separatist forces are dug in heavily on Renvar. Given that the fortress is situated overlooking snow plains, it provides them the ability to fire in any and all directions. Kenobi stated as the others looked at the fortress. If it was any other battle, a fortress built on an open plain would be a foolish decision. However, the fortress was not only protected by a redundant shield, it was also littered with heavy encampments, making landing troops near it a suicide mission. Okay, but that doesn't explain why you felt the need to bring me here in person, when I could have just used telecommunications. Naruto asked more seriously this time. Obi-Wan gave him a serious look back that made Naruto shiver. "A moment in private, General." Obi-Wan half asked, half demanded, and dragged Naruto out into the hallway alone. Leaning in towards Naruto's ear to avoid potential eavesdroppers, he spoke. "Someone within the Third System's army is a traitor." Obi-Wan spoke sternly but quietly. Naruto furrowed his brow as if you asked if he was sure. Kenobi only nodded and continued on. "How else do you explain the massive security breaches? Dooku and the Separatists knew we were coming, throwing everything in the area they have at us and reinforcing Renvar so thoroughly that we have to take it to avoid the threat of a major counterattack." This news didn't come as a total surprise to Naruto, but it was still unexpected. The only people who knew about this operation ahead of time were he and Luminar, the generals in charge both sector armies. Obi-Wan, the commander of the operation. Their naval liaisons, Ross and Yularen. Siri, who Naruto had told against orders. Republic High Command, who planned it. And the office of the Chancellor, which always knew everything. Naruto also surmised that their aides and communication officers could have read the memos against orders. Recognizing the situation, Naruto internalized the information, and the two walked back onto the bridge. "What of the ground assault? Ayla and Skywalker are in command, I presume?" Naruto questioned. He didn't like Skywalker, but this was war, so he had to put aside his grievances for the good of the Republic. Obi-Wan nodded his head towards the planet. "No, Peel took up this cup for you. Here's a quick breakdown of Peel's last report on the position of each legion in the 10th Army." Kenobi pressed a few buttons to display a holomap of the battlefield, and began pointing at several marked dots on the screen. First, Master Fight Torana managed to take down one of the 6 shield generators without being noticed, but she's since come under heavy fire. Naruto nodded and turned his head to K-Mars, who had already left the bridge to prepare his landing. The 382nd Overwatch would be perfect to create a crossfire and free up General Lana's forces. Naruto had taken it upon himself to teach those under his command his tactics and strategies. The Weequay Jedi Master was by far his most devoted student. He could only grin when he turned back and saw Kenobi's confused face. He dismissed the Jedi Master's concerns with a silent wave of his hand. "Master Peel and 2 legions have established a landing zone and are coordinating our forces from there, but it is a bit far from the operations field." Cody took the reins of the briefing. Naruto didn't see a problem with this setup. The 68 was a big think tank of amazing and unorthodox strategies, and the 401st Amphibious Legion was poorly optimized for snow combat, and having them maintain a defensive position was probably the best use for them here. He only made a note to have Peel move the LZ to a more advantageous position near the west ridge behind Ayla and Anakin. Master Sakura 3 legions are with Anakin and the 501st, taking on the responsibility of leading the main ground assault towards the Separatist base. The 182nd scrambled all fighters to engage the Separatists in orbit, and I've supported them with all the fighters the 7th Corps has, but we're facing an entire fleet here. I was hoping you'd bring Admiral Darahin along with you to turn the tide. Obi-Wan subtly questioned, but Naruto simply shook his head. Ross seemingly wasn't coming, but Siri and some of the 14th Corps' piloting companies might be of use. General Balaba and the 6 legions she is leading have taken up a position on the far side of our main battle group, near the East Ridge. The Separatists have several major encampments and large trenches here. She's keeping a great deal of droids from reaching Anakin. They're probably encountering more resistance than him, but they have twice as many troops. Cody brought the focus back to the ground battle. Naruto again saw no issue with the tactic, but he thought Deepa should be making better use of the 134th Mechanized Infantry. They should be working separately from the main battle group, scouting ahead and overwhelming infantry emplacements with their superior mobility and firepower. General Sakura's and General Skywalker's forces have suffered significant casualties, especially in terms of heavy ordnance. Immediate reinforcements are necessary. Admiral Yularen finally spoke up, showing Naruto and the others the attack plan Anakin had laid out. The plan caused Naruto to frown, but before he could get a voice in, Siri brought Obi-Wan attention to the screen. Even if the ground forces pushed through the Separatist fleet here, as they did, they'd come under immediate fire from the heavy guns the fortress has around it. Why do you think the Separatist fleet allowed the ground forces to break through their blockade when they had total naval superiority? They flew right into a kill zone. Ayla probably encountered the most trouble as she landed. Anakin seems to have realized the situation just in the nick of time to prevent the same outcome. Siri explained. That's quite the hindsight, but knowing how they got into this situation doesn't exactly help them out of it, Siri. Obi-Wan commented. What do you propose? Siri looked at the holomap, but her mind came to a blank. She had seen the same problem but couldn't come up with a solution. That's when Naruto came to her rescue. Skywalker is struggling because he landed his forces out in the open to avoid the heavy guns. The 501st doesn't need more heavy ordnance, they need cover. One squad of troops with some explosives is enough to take out a shield relay, we don't need all these 8s. Redeploy our A6 juggernauts and add OTs instead. Load them up with troopers, and we should be able to provide that for them. Naruto advised Obi-Wan, who nodded and turned to Cody, who got to work on Naruto's suggestion. Well, that takes care of Anakin, but Ayla still needs reinforcements, and I cannot send any more than we already have. Obi-Wan stated. He had to divide his forces, and he was providing as much support as it could, but they needed more. I'll have my troops start landing. But they're gonna have to land much farther from the fortress to avoid the same mistake. It will take some time for them to catch up. Naruto reasoned as Kenobi frowned. Each second wasted in taking Renvar meant that the Separatists had more to reorganize. If I may, General Uzumaki, I suggest we abandon the idea of a head-on assault of the base, and have you take a stealthier approach. It worked well with General Anna. While the Separatists are distracted dealing with General Skywalker's forces, a small team can land on the other side of the East Ridge and destroy the shield generators. Each one destroyed will leave part of the fortress unprotected from orbital bombardment. We can wipe out the heavy emplacements that are bogging down the 501st Second's advance. Yularen suggested as Naruto hummed. It was a better plan than sending more men down there to fight in the open, so he opened a holocommunication channel to Fox. Naruto would have to split up part the 14th Corps. That may be, Admiral, but that doesn't change Ayla's need for reinforcements. General Swan, rendezvous with Fox, have him prepare the 497th and 73rd Legions. Your goal is to provide relief to Ayla and General Skywalker. Sarah, I need you to deploy now with what you have prepared. Land ahead of me, break up the 242nd, and relay the location of those shield generators to me, and take out anyone that might report our position. Get the 6th Company ready, I'm taking him down myself. That second shield generator will be rubble in a few hours. Naruto had given out his orders, but he turned to Obi-Wan. Even though he was their general, he still needed his commanding officer's approval. Then I suggest you act fast. We need to keep the Separatists on their toes. It's the one advantage we have here. I don't think they expected us to attack Renvar with only about half our forces. They haven't brought reinforcements from anywhere nearby, so I can only assume they're coming from far across the galaxy. Obi-Wan stated. This was all the approval Naruto needed. With that, the transmission was cut as Naruto turned around, and the group made their way back to the rest of the fleet. Siri following him through the halls of the Fire Shadow. What do you want me to do? Siri questioned him. I want you on standby. Currently, we're winning the space battle. I want you and the squadrons ready at any moment. Obi-Wan was right, Separatist reinforcements are coming, and soon. In the meantime, I'm making you acting captain of the Fire Shadow until Ross arrives, if ever, or you have to launch. Listen to Zell's advice and trust in the Force, you'll do fine. Launch at your own discretion. Naruto responded. He wanted to keep fresh fighter squadrons, should the Separatists send a sizable relief force. Until Ross arrives, you and Zell should pull back and act as the rear guard, for when the Separatists send reinforcements. If they attack from behind, our fleet will be finished. Naruto, at this point, was trying to imitate Ross's commands. The 14th Second's fleet could protect Kenobi's fleet rear, while also keeping out of the action for a while, for when they were really needed. The rest of the fleet had the situation mostly under control, so there would be no point in sending in fresh ships in. Copy that. Siri replied. I'd best ready my starfighter then. Good luck. She said as she ran off to the many hangar bays. I'd best be getting ready for ground assault. I would wish you luck, but the general already did. Fox said with a chuckle as Naruto nodded with a smile. Thanks, now let's get going, Fox. Those shields aren't going to destroy themselves. Naruto said with a laugh as Fox simply shook his head. Well, it was his plan, he knew it was inevitable that something crazy would come out of it. With Anakin grunted as he deflected series of blaster bolts sent his way. Everything was going great. They managed to break through the Separatist fleet above planet, and that was ever the great part ended. As the assault force approached the landing zones, they came under heavy flak fire from the Separatist forces. Anakin foresaw the outcome of the Separatists, and tried to order Ayla to divert her landing craft, but by the time he had explained it was too late, and she crashed right into the middle of the Separatist emplacement. They had lost many gunships on the way down, and the walkers Obi-Wan sent weren't much help. Sir, we need to fall back. We're too exposed here. Rex, a clone captain, suggested to Anakin, who shook his head. Retreating would only put his right back into an open field. More casualties for lost ground, and I'm not about to waste lives on a retreat. We need to take that bunker and set up a perimeter using their own defenses against them. We owe it to our comrades to take that fortress, and turning back now betrays their memory. Anakin stated. Morale wasn't all that high due to the casualties, but they were the 501st, and they considered themselves to be the toughest legion. They had fought on the front lines in the first battle of the war, after all. Sir, we have an incoming transmission from General Kenobi. The clone trooper that Anakin didn't recognize under his snow gear ran up to Anakin, keeping his head low as blaster fire rained over his head. He quickly activated the holo transmitter, and a hologram of Obi-Wan appeared. Anakin, how's the war on the surface progressing? Obi-Wan questioned as Anakin rolled his eyes at his master. Fine. Anakin replied as the sound of heavy artillery shells dropping onto Republic forces could be heard. Obi-Wan raised an eyebrow as Anakin sighed. Okay, maybe not that fine. But things are under control now. Anakin elaborated as Obi-Wan sighed. Considering your situation, I've dispatched Naruto to deal with the shield generators. Rendezvous with Master Sakura and wait for our orbital bombardment to clear the area before continuing your advance. Obi-Wan stated as Anakin frowned at the mention of Naruto. Naruto was everything he was not. The blonde Jedi was already a master at such a young age, too. Master, I can take the fortress with what I've got. Those shields only stop blaster fire and high-speed craft. We can just walk right in. Anakin protested. He was sure he could do it, but Obi-Wan shook his head. No, Anakin, your losses are too high. If you lose any more, taking the fortress might not be an option. I'm sending more support down there for you to cover your advance towards the fortress. Obi-Wan stated as he cut the transmission. Anakin's hand balled into a fist. He didn't need any more walkers, they were just getting shot to pieces. General Uzumaki. I hear he's quite the soldier. Rex spoke up, a bit glad an experienced general was being sent to aid them. He liked Skywalker, and respected his way of handling the clones under his command, but he wasn't exactly a seasoned general yet. Give him a few more battles on a less chaotic field, and he'd be the best general the Republic had to offer. I heard the 497th just got some special commando units. Another clone muttered to his captain, who only cursed as to how lucky Commander King was. From what I know, the 497th is like us. Above your average clone legion. Sergeant Apple responded as the word began to spread throughout the battlefield. This boosted the morale greatly, causing Anakin to get more and more heated. He had always felt a deep rivalry with the blonde Jedi. They had both been brought into the order late at around the same ages, had both become Padawans to Jedi who were part of the Jedi Council, and around the same age, and they both had great tactical minds. He wasn't afraid to admit that Naruto was still better than him, but that gap had been closing greatly ever since the start of the Clone Wars. Alright then, Master Naruto. You've got a challenge. Don't go thinking you can claim victory before you've won. Anakin thought as his body shivered slightly underneath his snow gear. He would be the better general, and his clones would be the best damn legion in the whole of the war. Come on, men. We have a generator to destroy. Anakin ordered to change his objective. Having reconsidered his strategy, he noticed one of the generators was not too far from his current location. He wasn't about to just sit and wait while Naruto took all the credit. With Naruto, the gunship slowly shook from entering the planet's atmosphere, as Naruto calmly stood in the gunship, eyes closed as he waited for the gunships to land them a few miles away from the fortress. Sir, are you sure this will work? Fang questioned his general. He, along with the 6th Company, were called upon for this stealth mission. Fang's armor resembled that of an ARC trooper, but this was no normal armor. He'd had custom blades installed under his wristplates. Relax, with you and your brother's armor, they wouldn't even see us coming. Naruto responded as Fang nodded to that. The armor's color was dependent on the environment and temperature. This was highly experimental technology not meant for mass production and was exorbitantly expensive. After realizing the potential for stealth operations that Shadow Company possessed, Naruto had put in a request for the experimental stealth armor. It had taken a couple months, but Fang thought it suited them. Approaching LZ. The gunship pilot reported from the cockpit as everyone nodded. As the gunship approached the landing zone, the doors slid open, allowing them to get a quick look at the battle that was raging on towards the east. Isla's forces are bogged down, even with all that support. Fox commented as Naruto nodded. She had combined her new forces to try and take the separatist position, when she should have split them into smaller teams and taken them apart piecemeal. As much as we'd love to hear your input on the greater battle, General, we need to focus on our mission. Fang commented, recognizing that the general was about to go on one of his tactical tangents. Right, let's get moving. Time is key. We don't have much of it before separatist reinforcements arrive and turn the battle above against us. Naruto said as they began to move out. If all went well, then there wouldn't be any major fighting until after the first phase of the plan. For now, they needed to meet up with Phi and K-Mars. After seeing just how many millions of droids were on the planet, Naruto immediately knew that destroying the generator with just one company would result in their imminent demise in the aftermath. Above planet, 2 hours later. Any word from Ross? Siri questioned Allander's hologram, who sighed. I finally got word from Coruscant that he's just now on his way. He seems ecstatic about these new ships. It was a rather odd correspondence. Siri hummed curiously. Why is that? She probed. Allender barely held back a scoff of disbelief. He actually apologized for being late. Siri's jaw almost hit the floor with that news. What can you tell me about these new ships? Zells chimed in with his own question. The Admiral who closed his eyes and looked deep in thought. As far as I know, the new ship of the Rendili Star Drive design and is supposed to match Cruise Venator. Rendili doesn't seem to want KDY have a monopoly on warship production for the Republic. It's supposed to be superior in firepower, but the hangar bay only holds 24 fighters. It's not a carrier, that's for sure. It bears the destroyer designation, so it's bound to be pretty big. Allender answered the best he could. He knew little of what was to come. We have Republic ships dropping out of hyperspace. An officer reported. The two quickly turned their attention to the 4 ships that had dropped out of hyperspace. The shape was almost that of a Venator, but that's where the similarities stopped. It had only one bridge and was more compact. It didn't have a vertical hangar across the top for starters. Instead, it had a plethora of heavy turbo lasers and point defense systems. That looks quite intimidating. Siri commented with a slight frown. The ship gave of a sense of power, of fear. She counted the small group, a total of 4, take position near the fleet. Indeed they do. Allender stated, as he was put off by the design. It looked far too similar to Imperial designs during the Old Republic. He shook his head. Now was not the time to thinking about ancient history. General. Allender questioned as Siri began to exit the bridge. Isla seems to still be in a bit of a bind. I'll be taking our fighters down to the surface for reinforcements. Perhaps we can gain air superiority and get a few of those guns to start following us. Siri didn't pause her stride, and the bridge doors closed behind her. No one noticed the pained look on her face. On board the spearhead. My sincerest apologies for the wait, General Kenobi. The final inspection had evidently revealed a serious issue in one of our ships, and we were grounded until it had been inspected and fixed in all of our vessels. Ross apologized to Obi-Wan as the transmission faded. He hadn't found it unusual that maintenance had been sped up considerably after he'd received word of Naruto departing for Renvar, but what he did find odd was how quickly it had been completed. It had taken nearly 12 hours each for the first 3 ships, but the last ship was suddenly finished in less than 5. The Admiral stood warily, but confidently, on the bridge of his new flagship, the Spearhead, a fitting name for a vessel meant to lead battle formations. After his last battle, Ross's old flagship, the Pride, and several other Venators had been lost. To replace these, the 10th Army was given access to new warships being developed by Ku's main rival. These ships were undoubtedly superior in terms of firepower compared to the Venator, but it had to cut down on its hangar size and starfighter complement. I still think it's a better warship overall when compared to the Venator. Let's see if it lives up to its namesake and brings us victory. Ross thought before he shook his head. Get me in contact with General Uzumaki. He ordered as he waited for the contact to be established. Not a minute later the hologram of Fox appeared. Admiral. Fox spoke plainly. It was safe to say that many clones did not have a high opinion of Ross. His tendency to get their brothers killed was quite high for victory. Regardless, he was a simple clone. He had no authority over an admiral. Where is the general? Ross questioned Fox, wondering where the blonde Jedi. The general's leading a covert mission inside an enemy structure. My squad has stayed outside to receive holocommunications so he can avoid detection. He's ordered Zells and his portion of the fleet to remain on standby. He expects enemy reinforcements. Fox answered, filling him on the details. By the end of it, Ross hummed but nodded. Even these new ships wouldn't be able to penetrate the planetary shield. It seems that General Kenobi had taken the upper hand up here. The Separatist fleet is in quite the bad position. Ross stated as he turned to look at the space battle that raged on before him. Admiral Yularen had pressed the attack and pushed the Separatist fleet from its defensive formation, isolating a large portion, and pincerring it between his and Tarkin's fleets. Very well, I shall remain on standby for now. Ross agreed, but was disappointed that he wouldn't get to test out these new ships in combat. Naruto's concerns were unfounded. Besides, he didn't feel like arguing with Tachi again. All would be well if she stayed on the surface. With Anakin, Rex and King. Anakin was not in a good mood. The 497th had arrived about 20 minutes ago, and King had begun barking orders at the 501st. He'd nearly taken leadership over the entire operation, and was now leading the charge against the shield generator. What surprised him the most was the rapid advance of the 497th. In just a few hours, they had caught up with the 501st and finished their resupply. With all due respect to Commander, maybe you should listen to General Skywalker. He is in charge of this legion. Rex told King, who merely shook his head. General Uzumaki's explicitly left me in command of the 497th, and my objective is to assist General Skywalker in talking down the shield how I see fit. I'm not under his command. King replied. Rex was about to retort, but Anakin sighed loudly. Let's not get bogged down about who's in charge of who, Commander. I only care about taking down that generator. Any help you can give me would be greatly appreciated. King was a highly independent thinking clone. Unlike most clones who were engineered to obey commands and not be independent of one another, King was an anomaly. It made sense when Anakin considered that King had been part of the Commando program, who were bred for more independent thought. At least, he was before washing out due to an odd and substantial dip in his nearly flawless marks towards the end of his training. King wasn't just more assertive of his independence on the battlefield, he was also capable to conducting independent operations on his own prerogative. Naruto had taught his clones to be self-sufficient, and granted them a great deal of autonomy on the battlefield. Some part of Anakin didn't think of King as just another clone, but as his own individual person. Naruto's clones were unique, there was no doubt about that. They were nothing like the clones Anakin had seen. Perhaps that was what gave them such aptitude. Well, whatever the case may be, we still have a shield generator to destroy. Captain, do you think your troops can act as a distraction while King and I slip past them? Anakin explained. Of course, sir. Men, set up defensive lines and get ready for a fight. We're going to challenge those clankers head-on. Rex and his men roared, but King cleared his throat and brought out a helmet. If I may, Captain. Instead of launching a full-on attack, you could carry out sporadic attacks on the separatist lines. Our heavy equipment can't approach them, the enemy is just dug in too deep. However, smaller units can launch precise attacks, before slowly falling back to our lines, while drawing the separatists out in a more exposed position. This way we can maximize enemy casualties while minimizing our casualties. King proposed as Anakin hummed. He liked this plan a lot better, and he voiced his agreement before his clones could protest King's unwelcome intrusion into their ranks. As Rex began following through with King's operation, Anakin led the 497th through the snow along the west ridge, careful to stay out of sight of the separatists' main force. They arrived at the generator to find it lightly guarded. Anakin sprang into action first, igniting his blue blade and cutting down the perimeter guard. A few brief scuffles inside the generator later, and the entire generator had been rigged with explosives. Rex, we're going now. Have your men at the ready. Anakin warned over the communicator. King only nodded, confident they were ready to take on anything the separatists would send at them. With that, Anakin's thumb came crashing down on the trigger in a brief moment of triumph for the Republic. With Ayla frowned as she dug for cover as blaster fire went over her head. She hadn't been doing well before, but now her forces had been completely pinned down by heavy fire, and they were in need of critical support. Ayla ran to a still-burning aid for cover, as another salvo of the enemy's heavy cannons shelled the area around her. She nearly lost her footing when the last came just a little too close. We have incoming, General. One of the clones shouted out. Another regiment of droids came over the ridge and began pelting the downed walker with fire. More incoming from above. Wait, the Republic. The clone pointed above as pink and gray interceptor dove into the atmosphere at high speeds, cannons blazing, towards the separatist artillery. It was followed by a handful of V-19 fighters and a squadron group of PTB-625 bombers, similar pink markings on them as well. Siri? Ayla questioned. Unless Master Windu had suddenly joined the battle, those color markings were only ever used by Tachi. Ayla was still perplexed by as the fighter wasn't a Delta 7. No, it was much too fast, and the glimpses that she caught of it didn't match the design. This was a new fighter, seemingly constructed solely for a Jedi to use. The newfound air support started to relieve pressure on her forces. The starfighters started to blast away at droid formations close to Ayla's position. To make matters worse for the droids, the large explosion came from Skywalker's position, and their heavier fortifications a bit further back were exposed to the bombers that began dropping their payloads. They couldn't expose themselves to the headquarters AA guns for long, however, and were forced to turn back after only a few runs. Now's our chance. Advance. Ayla ordered, as she and the rest of her forces began to push forward under the cover of Siri's air support. Despite their achievements in the war thus far, the 10th starfighter capabilities was sorely lacking. Sure, General Jill and the 182nd Legion were capable, but even Naruto knew that the 10th Starfighter Corps wasn't on par with the rest of the army, and that Siri was the glue holding them together. Aside from Anakin and Master Plo and Tyne, she was probably the best pilot in the order. With Naruto, you're late. Anna commented, a bit annoyed. Naruto simply chuckled. Sorry, but getting past the heavy flak was not easy. Though we avoided the worst. Naruto explained as the two female Jedis nodded at that. How long is it that I have to wait for my legion to get the same treatment as that company? Fi questioned, gesturing towards the 6 company's fancy new armor. Naruto chuckled. Fi's legion was adept at carrying out large-scale covert missions behind enemy lines in deep space battles. I put in a word for yours, but I don't know how long it will take to make that many sets of armor. Primary production is still mostly focused on warships and general military armament. Can't lag behind the separatists. Naruto explained as Fi sighed. Shall we turn our attention back to the battle? Kmars questioned as Naruto turned to look back towards the battle they were currently embroiled in. Naruto swept his blue blade through a cadre of B1s, and it wasn't long until the area was secure. Naruto had made a last-minute change, realizing he would need Fi's forces. The battle was raging on, and the Republic was making some progress, but not enough. However, just then a large explosion rocked the area. The officers all exchanged worried glances, but Sarah was the first to spring into action. She immediately took to the icy cliffs, using the force to climb them in a matter of seconds. Her limber body went through a series of flips and dives as she made her way to the summit. She saw the explosion to the west, and knowing that Anakin was in that area, she came to a conclusion and shouted down to her comrades. "I think yeah, it looks like little Ani just took down one of the generators." Sarah commented as Naruto smiled. It seemed that Anakin had won this leg of their race, then. Sure enough, part of the separatist lines had been exposed, and only a few minutes later the entire area was showered in turbo laser fire from above. Good, with one more down that should ease the pressure on the Republic forces. Our objective still stands. Sarah, Fang, you two go ahead and scout the ravine. Fi, K-Mars and I will be on standby once the ravine is cleared. Naruto laid out the plan. Well, the clones did indeed have new armor for infiltration missions. Its drawback was the power consumption. Without a large and bulky battery that would contradict the purpose of cloaking armor, the armor could only remain active for about 20 minutes. It was still experimental after all, and there was bound to be some design problems. This meant that they would have a window of 20 minutes to sneak in and destroy the generator. They would need to get closer to the fortress before using their armor. The battle is getting more intense. I can't believe how many droids the separatists have here. Fi commented as the others left. Naruto turned to look at the battle and slightly frowned. Due to the lose of some sections of the fortress, the separatists were starting to deploy some of their heaviest field equipment and powerful droids, some he hadn't even seen before. We'll pull through, after all, we have been through worse. Naruto stated as Fi nodded. Naruto was one of the most seasoned Jedi Masters who had a very good grasp on war, strategy, and tactics. He had fought some of the hardest battles and important battles. From Fonder to Destined and many others. If they could survive then this would be just another battle they would have to win in the grand scale of things. We should those armors out. Make sure they don't fall on the troopers. Fi said as she walked up to the group of clone troopers, making sure everything was all set. Naruto nodded as he too turned to see to the armors. They would be key to the survival of the clones in the mission. At the separatist base, the separatist commander frowned as he saw the large explosion to the northwest. It wasn't long before a large section of the shields started to dissipate. In no time at all, Republic warships had turned their turbolasers toward the surface and begun bombarding the set of bunkers between them and his fortress. General Sakur's pinned forces had also been saved by the unexpected swarm of starfighters, and now their famed Admiral had arrived. Nothing was going as planned for Darth Tyrannus. Dooku had been ordered to see to it that the Republic failed in taking Renvar and were turned back here. Having been informed by his master well ahead of time, but they hadn't taken nearly as many losses as predicted. He had thrown everything he could at Naruto to delay the young general, hoping that he might only be facing General Kenobi in the end, but that strategy failed. He was reassured by Lord Sidious that Naruto would be delayed another way, but the boy had used a clever loophole to worm his way back into the action. Now, he was facing the full might of the 10th Army, plus Kenobi's famous 7th Sky Corps. He needed to fix this at once, but thankfully a backup plan was in place, and Dooku thought it was long past time to use his trump card. Activating his transmitter, he brought it closer to his bearded face. You may begin the counterattack. I expect no complications, and no distractions. He didn't wait for a reply before shutting the transmitter off, confident that the message had gone through. The Republic would soon be trapped, and losing those new ships would be ground to end the campaign. He turned around to another figure skulking in the shadows. Dooku made out the silhouette's sly smile and bow. He knew that his silent order to deploy had been received. Several droids followed his shadowed subordinate out of the command center. His mission to assassinate Naruto Uzumaki would be finished this day. With Naruto, Fi, and K-Mars, 1 hour later. What's taking them so long? Fi questioned as she and Naruto waited for the signal. A snowstorm had settled in a few minutes ago, and the temperature was dropping. While this did provide cover against the droids, they would not risk getting caught yet. Just wait a bit. They may not be quick, but they're capable. Naruto responded as he watched Siri and her new dull pink Actis-class interceptor in the skies above. Waiting about 10 minutes for the signal, and did come the signal in the form of a green flare. Nodding to himself, he stood up and turned to Fi and the rest of their forces. Alright, let's move in. Naruto ordered as they quickly began to make their way through the icy ravine. Why couldn't we just attack the main base from the north? There's nothing left defending it. Fi questioned in annoyance. The snow was starting to build up, hammering their movements. Because the separatist base, southwest from here, is built right into a mountain range. Between here and there it's a complete kill zone. Their heavy guns would shred us to pieces. It's quite clever actually. The headquarters element is shielded by mountains to the south, leaving only the northern approach open, but their bunkers protected that approach up until this point. Now we have to find a way around the fortress to get to the next objective. Naruto explained as Fi frowned. Then how are the separatists able to ferry more droids to the bunkers? We didn't see any convoys between the two. Fi pointed out as Naruto stopped for a second. That's a good point. Naruto responded. Indeed, how were the separatists transporting droids between the two? He thought about that before their troops had finally made their way through and met up with Fang and Sarah's scouting party. What took you so long? Fi questioned Fang, who nearly stumbled over the rocks in his stride towards her and Naruto. You can't rush a good covert mission, Fang stated as Fi rolled her eyes. For a bunch of clones they sure had vastly different personalities. Is the path clear? Naruto questioned as Sarah nodded. Yes, sir. Cleared most of the droids along the way. All that's left should be the next shield generator. Sarah responded in quite the chipper manner. Naruto nodded before he turned to Fi. You know what to do. Naruto orders as Fi nods before taking off with her legion. Naruto, Fang, K-Mars, and Sarah all walked into the generator complex. They were met with relatively light resistance. Most of the droids were probably out on the battlefield by now. The second this generator goes down, the separatists will know where I'm at and what my plan is. K-Mars spoke to Fang, who nodded. And they're going to send heaps of droids to find the problem. That's where General Fi's group ambushes them. Fang explained as Naruto nodded. Yeah, now hand me those explosives. Naruto orders as Fang tossed them carelessly. After berating Fang for his brief moment of stupidity, Naruto played a short game of hot potato with the explosives as the potato, before finally getting a grip on them. He quickly began to plant them all around the shield generator, and smiled to himself. Let's go. Naruto orders as he and his lieutenants quickly made distance between themselves and the generator complex. You want to do the honors? You did kind of do all the work. Naruto asked Sarah, holding out the detonator. A pleasure, Master Naruto. She responded eagerly, seizing the detonator with zeal. The explosives ripped through the generator complex, causing an even larger explosion to occur. The fireball reached high in the air, and had definitely caught the attention of both Republic and Separatist forces. Now there were only 3 generators left. It was barely 10 minutes before Naruto saw the tens of thousands of battle droids that had been dispatched to engage them. He had a feeling his group wouldn't be taking care of anything anytime soon. On board the Resolute. Admiral, I have multiple enemy ships emerging from point 93, distance 80. The clone officer watching the sensor array reported to his commander. Get me an exact number and have Admiral Allender bring his fleet around. Admiral Yularen ordered. The clone comms officer responded with a yes, sir, and got to work. The other officer had started numbering the enemy ships and their classes, but the words fell on deaf ears. Yularen had seen the fleet and their insignia, and a wave of terror washed over him. It was the Confederate First Fleet in its entirety, and they had been positioned in such a way that having the Republic fleet retreat to hyperspace was impossible. They had expected Separatist reinforcements, surely, but not an entire fleet. The Republic was now trapped between the 2 Separatist fleets. Despite all this, what struck the most fear in the Admiral's heart was knowing who the commander of the Confederate First Fleet was. On board the Usurper. General, our shield are at full charge. The Republic fleet is outnumbered 3-1. A B-1 deckhand reported to his commander. Excellent. All batteries open fire on these fools that sought to stand in the way of our surprise attack. The mechanically augmented voice ordered swiftly, his metal-clad feet clanking against the durasteel floor of the bridge. Having recently extended his cybernetic legs, General Grievous stood at his new towering height and stared down the orange-striped 10 fleet that he recognized so well. He couldn't help but let out a malevolent cackle. This is payback for destined, Republic scum. Grievous said with narrowed eyes as he let out a chuckle. It was time he showed them the lengths he would go to for their destruction. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.